Raya's feet were cracked from walking barefoot across the sun-baked red earth of Irimu, a small village tucked behind the Baobab Hills. Her mother, Mama Ifeoma, sold roasted ground nuts on a mat beside the market. Her father had died in the last flood that washed away half the village. At 17, Raya had already accepted hunger as a companion and the sound of mocking laughter as a chorus to her dreams. She often stared at the sky, daring to imagine a life where her stomach didn't growl. People said dreams were for the rich. Her mother said, "If your dreams are louder than your footsteps, child, you will fall." But Raya kept dreaming. Sei was the village girl who left and returned in a tinted car, with hair like silk and gold on her neck. She pulled Raya aside one market day and said, "You're too pretty to be broke. I can show you the way. Men in the city will pay for a girl like you." That night, Mama Ifeoma told Raya a story of her cousin who followed a similar path. Her bones were found behind a brothel in Lagos. They used her until there was nothing left. "Is that what you want, Raya?" Raya wrote a letter saying she was leaving with Sei. But as she held the match to the edge of the paper, her hand trembled. She watched it burn. Her path had to be her own. A torn paper flapped on the side of the community borehole. National Essay Competition, winner gets full university scholarship. Raya stared at it as if the words were magic. She hadn't finished secondary school, but she wrote anyway. There was no electricity. She borrowed a kerosene lamp and wrote at night after selling cassava in the morning. Her fingers ached, but she wrote like her life depended on it, because it did. The boys in the village laughed. "You think Lagos will welcome a bush girl like you?" Even Sei sneered, "You think your pen is more powerful than my body." She walked 10 kilometers barefoot to the post office in the next village to send her entry. When the clerk saw her calloused feet and dusty wrapper, he gave her a bottle of water and a smile. Weeks turned to months. Raya helped her mother, studied tattered books under mango trees, then fought off depression like it was a snake in her bed. One humid afternoon, a motorcycle courier brought a sealed brown envelope. Inside was a letter. Raya read it 3 times before screaming. She had won. Full scholarship. Lagos University. Her mother gave her a hand-woven bag and a small calabash of red earth. "So you never forget where your soul was planted." Lagos was loud, rude, and fast. People walked past her like ghosts. She shared a hostel room with 6 girls. Hunger returned, but so did hope. A girl named Ada in her hostel offered her a deal. "Come for a dinner. Rich men. No pressure. You just smile and sit pretty. You need money, right?" Raya almost said yes. But she remembered her father's eyes and her mother's cracked hands. "My body is not a bargaining chip," she whispered. Raya joined the debate team. Her voice trembled at first. But when she spoke about poverty, girls listened. Even boys paused. One day, after a debate, a lecturer named Dr. Agbej approached her. "I see the fire in you, girl. Let me guide you." She landed an internship at a media house. They paid her in transport stipends, but she soaked up knowledge like rain on dry ground. Ada, angry at Raya's rising profile, spread rumors she had a sugar daddy. People whispered. But Raya kept walking. She wrote a piece, "The Price of Saying No in a Yes Culture." It went viral. She was interviewed on local TV. Sei messaged her. "You're lucky. I'm tired, Raya. Men have eaten my soul. I want out." Raya invited her to a women's empowerment seminar. Sei cried in the back row. Raya held her hand. Raya won Student Journalist of the Year. She wore her mother's old wrapper and a smile as wide as the Niger River. She returned to Irimu with boxes of books and laptops. She started a small writing club in the village square. She launched the Girls Who Say No Foundation, mentoring young girls to choose education over exploitation. Raya was invited to a policy panel on gender and education. Politicians who once ignored her now clapped for her words. A fellow journalist, Chijioke, proposed at the edge of Bar Beach. She said yes, but only if he'd support her mission. Mama Ifeoma sat on her new veranda, watching village girls in Raya's program read aloud. Her smile was a prayer. Raya walked barefoot on the same road she once dreaded. Not out of necessity, but remembrance. Success, she knew, wasn't escape. It was return. Raya stood before thousands, giving a keynote speech. You will be tempted to sell your soul. But your dreams are not for sale. You are not for sale. Say no. Say yes to yourself. A leading international media house interviewed her, but the anchor kept implying her rise was due to beauty, not brains. Raya countered with poise and truth, and the clip trended globally. She struggled to bridge her village identity and Lagos polish. A wardrobe malfunction at an event embarrassed her, but a child in the crowd yelled, "I want to be like you." That moment restored her. Raya received news Mama Ifeoma had fallen ill. A rushed journey back to Irimu revealed the hospital's poor conditions. Raya promised to change that someday. Sei collapsed one night, overdosed and broken. Raya fought to save her, staying at her bedside, whispering, "You're not just a body. You're still light." Raya's foundation received a large anonymous donation. Suspicious, she investigated and discovered it was from one of the politicians who once tried to buy her. She returned it, with a published open letter. Back in Irimu, Raya met her father's old friend, a griot, who told her stories of her lineage, strong women, rebel farmers, and her grandmother who once saved the village from raiders. Raya wrote a tribute. Raya was invited to testify about rural education at the National Assembly. A senator mocked her. She responded with such eloquence that the room fell silent. Her speech was replayed on evening news. Inspired by Raya, dozens of Irimu girls organized a literacy walk. Holding placards with her quotes, they marched barefoot to the district office. Education officials began new programs. A flood hit Lagos. Raya and Chijioke helped coordinate relief for the hostel girls. She flashed back to her father's death and decided to push for a climate change awareness campaign. Sei began her own recovery journey. With Raya's help, she started teaching hair braiding workshops to survivors of exploitation. She named the program Golden Roots. Raya ran into the village boys who once mocked her, now jobless, bitter. One accused her of abandoning her roots. She responded, "My roots came with me. I watered them." Chijioke was offered a position abroad. Raya had to choose between staying or leaving with him. They argued. For once, she was unsure of what the right path was. Raya wrote letters to her 10-year-old self, her teenage self, and to her future daughter. They became part of a viral social campaign called #DearDaughter. She had a girl on the radio say, "Because of Raya, I didn't follow that man." Raya cried, for the first time in a long time, not from pain, but from confirmation. She launched her first book, Say No, Say You. A collection of essays, poetry, and reflections. Mama Ifeoma was there, in a geli and sunglasses. Raya confronted the education board about harmful practices still affecting girls in rural schools. She was met with resistance, but recorded the meeting and exposed them online. Chijioke came back, not to take her away, but to join her mission. "You were right. Love shouldn't cost your calling," he said. She built a library in Irimu, named after her father. Local children poured in daily. Mama Ifeoma called it the House of Second Chances. Time passed. Raya trained new leaders, expanded her foundation, and watched girls she mentored rise. She saw in them the same fire, and let them shine. At an international summit, she opened her speech with "Once, I walked barefoot. Now, I walk with purpose. But I never forgot the dust. That's where the honey of my strength was harvested." As the crowd stood and clapped, the screen behind her faded to black, except for her words, "You are not for sale. Your story is yours to write." Thank you for watching. Please like it, subscribe, and push the notification bell for upcoming stories.